Manchester, England, to the scenic shores of Chicago. Tuts takes great pleasure in presenting for their last United States engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, the Fall.
Yeah, we are the Fall, and we are the best. Yeah, we are the Fall, and we are the best. Yeah, we are the Fall, and we are the best.
Welcome back to We Are the Fall. I'm Gavin.
And I'm Steve.
And today we're going to be listening to a artifact of the Fall's appearance in the United States in 1981. From May through July 1981, they toured the U.S. And this is a compilation of choice cuts from multiple sets across the U.S. In that period of time, and this was released in May 1982, so a year later. But this originally, we're catching them a year before they come out with the Hex Induction Hour LP, and we get a little taste of what's to come for the Fall. And this is a really cool, I don't know, it's a smorgasbord of live recordings of different qualities and shapes, but this does feature what I consider to be one of the best lineups, or the classic lineup, maybe. Well, I don't know, what do you say? Because we got the only missing band member here is Paul Stanley, so they don't have the double drums set up. Well, let's just go through the personnel first. We got Marky Smith, of course. We got Mark Riley and Craig Scanlon on guitars. And then we got Steve Hanley on the bass, of course. And we got Carl Burns on the drums. And at this point in time in the Fall career they're using the double drummers. So they got Carl Burns and Paul Hanley on drums. And Paul Hanley was not on this tour because, do you happen to know why?
I do not.
Because he was 17 years old, and he could not get a US visa granted for to
work as a 17-year-old.
To work in the United States as a 17-year-old and tour across the United States with the Fall. So Paul is not there, but he's still an active member of the band and still considered definitely a Fall member, especially at this point. So but it's basically the Fall. They just don't have the double drums, which eventually America does get to experience, I believe. So this is, in my mind, this is still, some of the choice, like,
yeah, the old school Fall. Like, this is the part, not the original, obviously, but the OG. Like, this is what you think of when you think of the Fall. These 5 guys, 6 guys.
Yeah, exactly. And the sound is there, and they're playing a lot of different cuts from the current era, but also looking forward, songs that are going to be showing up eventually on the Hex Induction Hour, one of their most well-regarded albums, which we are very much looking forward to getting into in the upcoming weeks.
So this was, like we said, May of 1982. It was released only 2 months after Hex Induction Hour was out.
Right. So this
Um,
was released of about the same time, right?
yeah, 2 months later, I think it was only in the US it was released. So, I guess catering to the crowd who
Yeah,
was there.
yeah, which is interesting because you would think that actually the UK fandom that they had would actually be even more inclined to purchase something that was the fall in another land. And maybe, I mean, I would be interested to hear a band go to a new place and see what the response is.
Yeah, especially a tour of this size, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they
definitely.
are, two songs in Chicago, two in New York, one in San Francisco, two in
Hmm.
Houston, and then one in Memphis. I mean, that's the entire United States pretty much. Like you're hitting
Right, right.
most major, besides LA, you're hitting every major market, right?
Yes, and it does seem like they're playing at venues that are the the top venues for where the fall would be wanted,
Sure.
Yeah,
Small, mid-size venues that play good music. Like,
right. That are open to this the outsider rock and roll that's going to be coming into town. And it sounds like when we get into these tracks, it sounds like the crowds are, fiending for it. Like they are really getting into it. It's not like the Totals Turns LP where you have an audience that is not directly combative, but more or less there for the experience and less for the music.
and I wonder if that's more a, like an American thing. Are we cheering through the
Hmm.
songs more where maybe, I don't know, but where the British
Yeah.
like sitting there and like paying attention and listening, like I don't think at Total's Turn, obviously, because it didn't
The
seem like
men's clubs.
the men's
Yeah.
clubs, right? Like it didn't seem like that was his crowd that was coming, dragging their asses out there to see him. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
maybe
that.
maybe it was, and they stood there to listen, and then they cut out the cheering. I don't know, but yeah, this is having
I feel like at the men's clubs that there were more pressing concerns in the audiences in minds and lives, right? That like maybe not, but this is a paying audience.
yeah,
This in the United States, and this is an audience that has been more or less listening if they could find the fall albums, or maybe they haven't even heard any fall music. I'm just making assumptions, but maybe they just see the name The Fall and said, "Oh, I've definitely read that in rock and roll um, periodical that I can get my hands on, and I've seen a
sure.
write up or a review about this album, and it's something where I'm going to mark my calendar. I'm going to make sure I go out and check this out, see what the commotion is about."
Yeah, absolutely. And people just that like music, right? Like
Hmm.
these are spots for, creative folk and things like that. They're fun spaces to go and see a show. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then I am curious, and I might have to look it up here in a second. Um, like what the lineup was with the fall. How do you put a bill together that is headlined by the fall? How do you build up ideally as a concert promoter, as a concert show promoter, putting together the bill, the lineup, you have to consider you always are going to probably throw in a local act you want to that is going to be within the realm of the headliner's style of music, or something that is the same energy that might not be the same type of music. So how do you think about that? And if you are knowledgeable about the fall at all, you have to know that your crowd is going to be wanting to be satisfied right off the bat, right? They might even be a little bit, maybe like the men's club, be a little combative to get to the fall earlier, right? To get those bands off stage. Chicago is pretty. You and I both know Chicago is very much a open-minded music town. So I don't think the crowd is going to be unless it's a punk rock venue. And this Tuts Chicago did not seem like that. You and I have never been there, but this is a venue that apparently was very well regarded. It had a very diverse, eclectic billing week to week, where they had anyone from what did they Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah, I mean they
early era,
Muddy Waters. I
Muddy
mean,
Waters, yeah,
like it
the
was
Stones.
Tuts was only around for 5 years, I think. So it was a short, I think 79 to 84.
Right.
So yeah, it was short lived.
And it was located right next to the Vic Theater, which is
Yeah,
a bigger venue.
it was not.
Um,
It was not open at the time.
oh, I didn't know that. It wasn't open at the time. So this was
No,
actually taking precedent and taking up probably a lot of those acts that would be playing at the Vic.
and it was
Uh,
a different name before it was Tuts. Before that,
oh,
it was also a venue.
oh, I do recall that too. But Tuts was a diverse venue that had diverse acts and diverse music, and it seems like a perfect place for this band to go to first. At least, actually, the album starts out with a couple recordings from the Chicago venue, right? And Chicago performance. But it sounds like this is
Yeah,
actually the last performance on their tour, right?
yeah, they definitely went to New York first, and then yeah, then they moved basically west.
Hmm.
They played a show in Massachusetts, a couple in New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Where is this? Yeah,
Huh.
In Philadelphia,
So
Washington,
they made their way
Washington
around,
D.C.
and then
That yeah.
came back to the Midwest,
No,
or maybe.
it looks like they went south. Yeah, Atlanta, Memphis, New Orleans, Houston. So I think Chicago might have been last. Austin,
Yeah, because I believe at the
Dallas.
introduction, I think the MC states that this is the final stop on the tour.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they're like lucky to get them when they're all,
all warmed up. Oh, they did. Yeah,
yeah,
they did play two,
lathered.
three, four. It's like four shows in Los Angeles that don't make it on. Um,
Mark's one of Mark's least favorite places in the US. It's good to lead off with this because I don't know if it's well-known fact or under I haven't been able to find that much about it, which I'm very intrigued by, is Mark lived in Chicago for a short period of time, which I need more information about this because there's only little bits here and there about things that are directly said by Mark, where he talks about, I lived in Chicago and I live down the street from Muddy Waters, and he was like the sheriff of the neighborhood. And um this is it's an I guess it's an unhighlighted part of Mark's experience. Everyone knows he loved Edinburgh, he loved Scotland, he lived in Scotland for a period of time writing too. But this is the stop that said for him after he went to Los Angeles for 4 shows, where he was like, oh, actually, after being in Los Angeles, Chicago actually is more my style. It's more my vibe. I guess the last thing before we jump into it too is the album is actually labeled. The A side is labeled the North Side, and the B side is labeled the South Side, which is very Chicago. And I was trying to see, oh, maybe he's talking about the north part of the tour and then the south part of the tour, but it doesn't really work out that way because the B side has San Francisco, Houston, and Memphis. So Houston, Memphis, that fits, I guess. But San Francisco, definitely not the south side of
of the U.S. No,
anything really, not even California.
yeah,
So yeah, this is.
that's.
Should
But
we get
yeah,
into it?
I think so. Yeah, let's play. Yeah. So the first one takes place in Chicago at Tuts, the NWRA, and it is a doozy, 11 minute and I think 5 or 6 seconds long. It's really enjoyable. You can kind of place yourself in the venue. if you put on some headphones and listen to Mark, he's having a good time for sure.
And then get into the north side of the live album from recorded in 1981, released in 1982, called "A Part of America Therein" by The Fall.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Fall!
So I know you were curious what the bill looked like. I have found it.
Okay.
It was this is presented by Wizard and the Coolest Retard from England, The Fall, with Da and Naked Ray Gun at Tuts.
Thursday, Naked Ray Gun. Okay.
Yeah. DA, Da and Naked Ray Gun at Tuts on Thursday, July 16th.
Awesome. So Naked Ray Gun, a Chicago staple, a Chicago, I don't know, classic punk band. So I think that's a great billing in general, as you'd expect from Chicago. Very thoughtful.
We don't have any skin in the game. Every city is just as equal as the next.
Yeah, actually, let's take the bias out of this and let's just be very fair here. But I guess I will say, as you move through this track listing, you really get the most quality of recordings in these first two songs that are in Chicago. So whoever did the recording, or maybe it was just the venue and the sound of the venue, The North Will Rise Again and Hip Priest are just killer recordings of The Fall at this point, and sounding so good. And also the two longest tracks, I believe, besides the closing track. After we get into the track listing further, there's a lot of sketchy recordings where they're not recorded from the venue's board, which it sounds like this one is, and it's like almost like sounds like it's mixed a little bit. If not, they did a perfect mixing of it on stage. But here's The Fall starting off this album with The North Will Rise Again on the north side of the album, and you get the kazoos. You get your kazoo solo right off the bat,
blasting away at it.
Yeah, I don't assume that they let off with The North Will Rise Again.
Yeah, no, they did. So The North Will Rise Again is number one on the set list. Hip Priest is number 5.
Oh, that's awesome. I love to know that. I mean,
they finished.
I love it. Yeah,
they finished strong with No Christmas for John Keys.
They love to close with that. I don't really fully understand the closing with that.
I think they just riff on it for a while. I think they just kind of playing around.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bill for this is white paper, black ink, and it has a big spider web with a butterfly caught into it, a little bit of grass.
Dang, that's cool. Maybe we can post that. That sounds sweet. So we're not getting the double drum setup, it was made popular as far as I'm concerned, and maybe Mark's concerned too, by the band Can, is the double drum setup. And that kind of setup with this type of band has gone on and shown itself in many, many other bands and other modern bands. And we can think about currently the OCs, which are I wouldn't say Fall inspired, even though I do believe John Dwyer is definitely a Fall head, like all of us. That has to be, a consideration when you're such a good live band to, how do you up it a little bit more? Second drummer.
Second drummer. We already got 2 guitarists. Why not a second drummer?
Yeah. I mean, the 2 guitarists is essential for the fall, like we've discussed in the past, and they get away from it at points in the career. But the double drums is something that is just really. It doesn't sound like it would be a dynamic, but it is. But I mean, Paul's back home. He's working at the shop or whatever.
Oh, he's just going to high school.
Waiting for the band, waiting for his mates to come back. He wants to be a part of it. And as we know, Carl Burns and Paul Hanley are definitely not the same type of drummer. So I think that's also the key. If you're going to have a double drum band, you got to make sure your drummers are not of the same ilk. They have to be different mindset, and then find the mesh between them.
I was going to say that is the biggest part, right? Is that mesh? Can they play? Can they play off each other? Can they do different things and make different sounds, but be in complete unison, right? Like, okay, here we are.
How can they complement one another? I'm also curious how old Carl Burns was at this point, because you're a drummer, and it's also seemed like Carl was a lifer as far as a musician, and then you're in a band that is on the up, it's on the upwards trend. It's going towards its peak, as far as recognition is concerned, and he's drumming next to a 17-year-old. He couldn't have been too much older, but he's definitely not 17. He's definitely in his 20s. And you're drumming next to a 17-year-old, and you got to be like, huh. It works though. It works.
Sure. This is somebody's little brother, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's and then you look over and you're like, oh, it's that guy's little brother.
Yeah.
It's the guy playing the bass.
I know him.
Yeah. Actually, they're good. Yeah. They're good boys. They're good boys. Yeah, the North will rise again. Awesome. I'm so glad to know that this is actual lead-off track in the set list. And then at the end, we get a little Mark, and that's this is the key too. If you get Mark banter, that's just like off the cuff banter in a live recording, that's the type of recording that is a real document of the fall, that is going to be, because there's so many. You want to hear the Mark little euphemisms, and also the banter with the crowd, where it makes you re-listen to it and be like, oh, okay, it's this one. It's this one. Or it puts you in the place, in the setting.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the fun of a live performance, right? Like, I don't expect a perfect clean recording, right? Like,
right.
I want some shouting, and I want some off the cuff banter. I want a little bit of mix up on the lyrics, or play into another song, and something that's unique, right? That's why it's cool.
Yeah.
If you want a studio album, listen to a studio album. Like, you can't really bitch and moan when you're listening to a live one, like, this recording stinks, and you're like, I guess you just don't put it out there, but it's still worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's why you got to give them credit. They're just like, this is good. Well, they made this compilation of their tour, which had to be fun too, to listen to the recordings and say that's the one, because they played so many shows. But
and I'm sure that most, like, every venue is obviously set up to either record something or not, right? Like, you can't always do it in every place.
Yes.
So.
At this point, and we're gonna experience it in this album, because it really depends on the venue as far as how well you get the vibe of the ambience of the room from the recording. And then at the end of this first lead-off track, Mark informs us that the keyboards are fucked up, and I think who would have thought?
Right, the keyboards are broke down, so you're getting something unique. Anybody who wants 50 cents refund, send an email letter To the outside of Hebrides.
All right, so we get so the North is back. Where are you gonna go from there? You're at Touch Chicago. You're gonna give them a little taste of what's to come in the next year from the fall. And let's just get into it and let's let the crowd react to this one. Hip Priest.
Drink the long draft down. For the hip priest. I said drink the long draft down.
So this is middle of the set, you're saying?
Yes. So this set,
How many songs total in this set in Chicago?
they
Yeah.
played Fortress, Totally Wired, Jawbone and Air Rifle, then Hip
Of course.
Priest.
Huh. I'm surprised that Jawbone and Air Rifle does not make a appearance on this live album.
Yeah.
Because it did seem like a favorite of the band, obviously, but maybe there was a not the best recording of that one. But the Hip Priest is a great middle of the set song, especially if it's a new song that the audience has never heard before. Because this is a chill out. This is you've gotten so much energy throughout the first part of the set. You need to have a little cool down before you ratchet it up again.
Yeah, 12 song set. It's a nice
Yeah.
show. Play for an hour? Come on. I'm always happy.
I'm always happy too. I'm always happy with an hour set. Yeah, you don't need much more or less. If you're around, if you're around an hour, I'm not gonna be mad.
I was gonna say
And
an hour of music, an hour, 10,
and then you don't have to
20
come
minutes.
back.
Yeah, you got 10, 20 minutes of chatter in there or whatever.
I'll take chatter, but tuning. Get
No
out of here.
tuning. No tuning. Well,
No tuning. Tuning is
No
the most
tuning.
overrated, especially for the fall. I think the fall they're on the same page as me when it comes to tuning. Tuning is
Yeah.
overrated.
You just have like what?
No one cares.
You have 6 or 7 guitars. You switch between songs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you got your
Maybe
Never
the
out of
fall
tune.
just trades instruments, like the two drummers switch drums, so they're just like, oh, this is slightly better or slightly
Oh wait,
worse. It's okay.
there's I didn't realize there was 2 drum sets. I thought there was just 2 drummers.
Mm-mm.
They each have their own set. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's double drummer. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. This is
No.
shotgun. It's shotgun style,
Oh man.
double barrel.
I think that's the first time you missed out on the sarcasm there.
Well, it's just I just like the idea of
Two dudes. Two
of
dudes.
Paul standing behind Carl, just waiting for the next song, and they just tag out.
Oh no, they're playing it at the same time. They're just sitting on opposite sides of it.
Oh, I want them to be sitting on the same side too.
Yeah, well, maybe Paul's right behind him, just reaching around him, just trying to get a little action.
Or maybe just one of them is straddling the other on the same drum throne.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The arms are going. It's like an octopus of arms, just rolling around there. Now that would be something to see. Actually, that would be maybe the OCs will get into that.
Get on that.
The variation, because I've never seen that. That would be taking it to whole new style.
Make sure you give Mark a stick to bang around a little bit.
Yeah. Make the engineer really pissed off. Mark just walking around. He's gonna go change the dials on the amps. Might as well give him a mallet and just smash some cymbals.
Yeah, or maybe just like something soft, right? And they just like a little
something softer. A little brush.
Yeah, exactly. A little tin brush.
Painter's brush.
Maybe just a ribbon on a stick.
Yeah, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? All right. So, I mean, we're as unbiased as we are. I gotta say, those are good recordings of the fall in America in 1981. And then we go into another choice cut of the fall.
I don't know why.
It's totally different, and it's totally Wired.
I'm totally wired, son. Totally wired. Totally wired. Totally wired, son. Can't you see? Totally wired.
So this one, Mark's vocals are fucking sounding good. But if you listen to this with headphones on, Mark is slightly in your upper right cortex of your eardrum and in your brain. And I like this. I like this kind of offness. And the backing vocals are popping in, also very clear. The only thing that's not mixed in ideally for me, and this is just preference, is the drums. The drums are a little bit pushed back, but the bass is sounding fucking great. Fucking Steve killing it. And the backing vocals, this is what I want to hear. As far as versions of this song, this is one of my favorite versions of Totally Wired.
Yeah, I mean, they seem dialed in. They're having a good time.
Totally
like
tight.
You can understand and, hear Mark clearly, which is great.
And it does have kind of a New York, I don't know what it is about this recording of it.
I think it's a little bit faster. It feels a little bit faster.
It does, which makes sense because this is Mark's favorite town to presumably score drugs. There's a good story about how they would be, and I don't know if it was this tour, it might have been this tour, but there's a good story about how they would be in New York City, and Mark found this hotel he really liked that he would always stay at. He was like, this is definitely my place. Like, I'm always going to stay here. And so they would go play after they play New York. They would go play, where you would assume Philadelphia, Boston, like all these surrounding next big cities. But they would go and play these big cities, and Mark would tell their tour manager or driver, actually I think it was just the driver, to drive them back to New York City every night from Boston, Philadelphia, all these surrounding areas. And because he wanted to go back and stay in the same hotel because he liked that hotel, and he also could score drugs in New York City super easy. So this driver was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, by the time I drive back to the city and actually get into the city, like through all the, all the traffic, he's like, we might as well just like sleep here. And he's like, no, we're going back. We're going back now. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, on this tour, he played New York, then he played Hoboken, New Jersey, then he went back to New York.
Yeah.
Then they canceled the show. They canceled a show that was supposed to be in Toronto. Why was he going to go all the way to fucking Toronto?
I don't blame him for driving back from New Jersey. Like
then New York again, then Boston, then New Jersey, then New York again, then New York. Philly, finally Philly.
I mean, you might as well just play all New York, a residency in New York, right? Everyone from
I mean,
Hoboken.
that's basically what they did. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a ton of shows, and that's why you don't
New York's a big city. There's a lot of people that need to see you.
that's why you don't hear any of Mark's too many of Mark's screeches. Really, he's got to save the vocal cords.
No, that's true. That's true. No, he is yeah, you're right. You're right. He is just delivering these with a professionalism as he always had for most of for most of the career. Had professionalism. If it's a live show, he's going to give it to him. We're going into Live Dream of Casino Soul, and this one also. I take this one maybe over album version.
Yeah, I mean they picked a lot of songs that have that they don't play it, but they have that Choco Stock bop to them, like they're cruising through them. Even the long ones, you're sitting there like ready for the next note.
Yeah. Like Live Dream of a Casino Soul is a song you could literally place anywhere in the set list and you would be completely fine. Even if you put it at the end, and you know my preference, if I got to choose between No Christmas for John Keys and Live Dream of Casino Soul, I think I'm gonna lean on that Casino Soul experience. There's a little bit more dynamics to it too. But also it's a shorter song, so you don't want to finish with it, especially if you're the fall.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, they got it going really well. The bass and the drums playing off of each other. You're
Yeah.
just bum 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 bum. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like they got this keyboard fixed.
They,
Well, that was the
no,
last.
Chicago.
That was
the last. That was the last night. They didn't care.
As we end the first side, the north side, as on our journey southward, let's take a look at this album artwork here. What do you think of the Falls, a part of America Therein 1981 album artwork?
I mean, I appreciate the text. The photo is a bit lacking,
Yeah.
Standard band photo. I mean,
yeah. They didn't even try to Photoshop in Paul Hanley.
Yeah, just cut and paste.
Like, or if they just had a framed photo like on the cement,
maybe they
in memory.
Did they not travel with a cardboard cutout of him?
That seems like 1981 it'd be easy to procure one of those.
Yeah, just print and paste. Just send it to your
Kinko's. Just go to
send
Kinko's.
It to your local Staples. They'll have it ready to pick up.
Oh man, but yeah, this photo is lacking the color. I mean, the background is just a white background. The scratchy font is
it's not bad. I like it. Not bad. I mean, it's a good font.
It's not bad. At least it's not
some black. Interest. I was gonna say black.
Yeah, they use some color, but they're in America and they got this photo next to a nondescript building. That's the biggest thing for me. They look cool. They're standing around.
It looks like they're trying to look cool though. It's like totally posed. It's like, all right, everybody.
Yeah, a couple of them look like they need to go to the bathroom or something. They're waiting for the bus. But this building behind them, it looks like they're in an alleyway, and it looks like they're in an alleyway behind a corporate office building.
A US government building, right?
Yeah.
No windows,
for sure.
Straight concrete all the way up.
Definitely. Maybe that's why they need to leave.
This is their
they need to leave the capital. Leave the capital.
Visas are getting revoked.
Yeah, they're waiting for their visas. Oh yeah. Oh man. I mean, that could be an airport too. Like outside of an airport, they just took that picture on the way out.
Oh shit, we forgot to take any photos for the album. Just stand over here.
Yeah, guys, stand over here. Like stand over here. Wait, there's a dumpster over there behind you, so move over here. Is it better? And then they're just asking the photographer, is it better over here? Yeah, it's great. It's great.
The light is
you guys are gonna fucking love this. Yeah, I mean, no, this is not working out. I mean, yeah, Carl's looking cool. Mark Riley is actually looking the coolest with his whatever those acid wash jeans are. Not really sure. He's the only one with the light colored jeans. So, um,
Arms crossed, looking a mess. Yeah.
everyone else is looking at the camera. Oh, Carl's not. Carl's not. Well, I mean, overall, I think they could have done better.
Yeah, but American audience, they didn't know what we wanted.
American audience, they might be like, just give them that shit. They'll buy it.
Just put it out there. $5 only again.
$5 only. Come on. Come on. Why did they put the slates? Okay, if you go to look at some of this album artwork, and which you should, while we look at it, is ideal. They put the slates kind of ribbon on the corner on there again for this one. Like they reused it. Oh man. They reused the slates. Oh man. Does it have any of those songs on here? I don't think so. Why is that on there? Is that just an alternate thing? Oh man, it's just another advertisement for their album. I guess that makes sense. It's just it's the same record cycle as the Slates EP, so it does make sense. They're trying to sell it. If you like this live version, you're gonna like the Slates, which I think that's right. I think that's accurate. All right, so we finished up A side. Let's jump into the South side. San Francisco. When I think of the South side, I'm going straight San Fran. And we're gonna be listening to Cash and Carry.
Cash and Carry. I think this is off what's the song? CNC.
Yeah, CNC Schmuckle Fuck.
CNC Schmuckle Fuck. Yep.
I can see how the keyboard may have been damaged listening to this song.
He opens up with a fantastic keyboard solo.
Just sliding through those scales. It doesn't say in the credits who's playing the keys. I want to assume it's Mark Riley because he has played it on some of the Peel sessions. I like this style. It's just a flourish it's floating around. It's a sprinkling of synth.
Oh, they're going back to your north side, south side. They have drawn a diagonal line across the United States. If you
They dissected the middle.
Yep, Chicago, New York, San Fran, Memphis, Houston is their delineation.
Huh.
On the back of the album.
On the back of the cover.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
big red line that goes through it. Way better than the front, that's for sure.
Oh, I like that.
Here you go. Yeah, I mean, even the I don't know the term for it, even the paper on the center of the LP is pretty cool with the scratch font.
Yeah.
Blue versus red.
Yeah, I like this a lot more. And also, I don't know who this is a photo of on the back cover, but that does look a lot like Graceland. That looks like Elvis's house.
It is right next to Memphis. It makes sense.
Mean, it is right next to Memphis. I was just there, so I have a very astute recall that this looks pretty much exactly the same. But who is this?
The front cover photo was in Philadelphia.
Is this K on the photo? It might be. So the diagonal delineates the north and the south. I like that. It's a little bit of a stretch, but that's good.
Got to find out more. Got to find out more about Timothy Powell, the engineer in Chicago. He did a good job.
He did do a good job. So Timothy Powell gets the only shout out in the credits.
Special thanks to Wizard and Timothy Powell, engineer in Chicago.
Huh. I agree. I unbiasedly agree with that.
I mean, they picked them for the first two. You got to assume they were the happiest with those.
Yes, for sure. Should have asked them to do a little mixed job on the other ones. There's I bet you they only had like a 2-track recording of all these other shows. Like it was just coming straight. Even this Cash and Carry in San Francisco, the crowd is, if you listen to the beginning and the end, the crowd is fucking into it. They are loving this, but just the recording is not the most quality.
Yeah, it's just shallow, right? Like you're not getting any depth of sound. You're not like, you're just like, okay.
No, yeah, it's a little bit blown out, which is usually not a problem. I don't really mind the blown out, oversaturated, but the bass is not even there. You know, I'm not hearing any of the bass. Maybe this is where Steve Hanley takes a bathroom break, so there is no bass. No, yeah, it is. It's very thin. It is great how Carl changed up that drum beat at the end, though, and then we finally get that Mark scream.
Yeah,
at the very end, around 6 minutes.
So maybe he wasn't reserving himself as much as we thought.
Yeah.
On to an older lover all the way down in Houston, Texas.
Let's go down south.
Get hot. Just chilling in the fog. Time to get sweaty.
I do wonder what Mark made of being in Texas in general, because I can't assume he liked it. If one of his favorite places is, well, who knows? But if one of his favorite places is Scotland, you know, and you're coming to Texas, it's like almost the polar opposite. And the people, well, I don't know.
I mean,
he might have found some things he liked.
I was gonna say he spent a lot of time in the South. Brisket. Did they even have brisket? I don't think it was that big back in the 80s.
No, they didn't have meat. They didn't have meat products in Texas in the 80s.
They didn't eat.
It was too early for that.
They didn't eat a cow in Texas until recently.
No. What was it? What was the staple of Texas back then? Corn? It was all
sides, just beans.
It was all sides, yeah. Pickles,
white bread, pickles, raw onions,
raw onions,
mac and
styrofoam.
Cheese, coleslaw, a lot of coleslaw.
At least they had the protein in the beans, though. There's actually a vegetarian culture, Texas, pre 1983.
I think once the cow was introduced in the 90s, it really took off.
So what are these
big animals? We don't even have grass. We don't even have grass here. What are they gonna eat?
You know what? No, it would be cool if some of these cows had big old horns. You know what I'm saying? If we could get these cows to grow some real, I guess you would say, extra long horns, that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I could really get into some of that. No, compared to the San Francisco recording, the Houston recordings I actually like a little bit more because, like you were saying, there's a further depth to this, and it sounds like a natural reverb, like or a natural room sound, doesn't it? Like you're in the venue space, maybe at the very back, maybe at the sound booth. I think this is a little more fitting.
Yeah, it's got that haunting sound that you really want out of this song, which is
Definitely.
nice.
And maybe it's just the juxtaposition from the last track, which had no bass, to this one that has extra low end. The low end is almost oversaturating the guitars, which is cool. Mark is he's going with the take the younger lover sometimes a lot more.
Was Kay on tour with them here?
I almost think that might be Kay on the back cover
That's
from
what
the
I mean.
Graceland. Yeah.
It's an easy assumption, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to assume she was on tour with them, but
Yeah.
I don't see
Definitely.
her. I don't see her really mentioned anywhere.
Houston is killing it. Just listen to that crowd go wild at the end of this. They faded out.
They always do. Yeah.
Uh okay, and then let's jump into a preview of Hex Induction Hour track called Deer Park.
Let's go.
So it's unfortunate with this one because this sounds like a great performance, but there's this phasing, a compression
Yeah.
issue with the recording where you're just like, oh man, it takes you totally out of it. It's just like the whole track is getting squeezed and then just coming back. Oh, it's unfortunate. It's also kind of, it doesn't really matter too, because for fall fans that listen to this album, they're going to be like, that song fucking rocks. I hope that I can hear that for real sometime.
Yeah, this show was recorded at the Island in Houston.
The Island.
The Island. The Fall plus the Recipients.
The Recipients. I like that. I'm not familiar with the Recipients.
Yeah, I think they're a local Houston band, it says here. It looks like it was almost a split set versus a headliner, and they only played 6 songs.
The Fall?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was like an afternoon show.
Yeah, I don't know if that or if I don't know what the Island is. Looks like a normal bill for the show. Yeah, it looks like it's a punk rock venue.
Well, the Recipient sounds punk rock. You can't be mad that you get to hear Deer Park though. I do love this track in general, especially just for Steve Hanley's bass riffage, the way that it sometimes goes upward and pops.
It's a pretty hard song for them, like noisy song.
Yeah. I also like to think about the American audience, just like us, taking in the Fall for maybe their first time and taking it in and being and looking, me and you standing at the venue in Houston or Chicago and looking at each other after the song and saying to each other, I have no fucking idea what he just was talking about at all.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
But I did enjoy it thoroughly. Therein.
I mean, sometimes I like think back about like listening to Mark interviews and listening to some of these songs, and like I was like, I don't know what he's saying, and like I wonder if I'm just so attuned to it now, or if it's he is more understandable.
That's a good point in general because okay, have you had this experience lately? Because I definitely have, where we've been listening to a lot of The Fall, obviously, but and we both listen to a lot of music, but once you listen to a lot of The Fall and then transition to any other type of music, what has your experience been? I'm curious.
I mean, I kind of miss the droning, like the tempo of it. Like it's all very, even when they're slow or fast, I feel like it's always kind of the same tempo with the lyrics built in, and like that droningness kind of, you kind of, I'm like, oh, I'm not in
You like
the,
the hypnotic, you miss the hypnotic when you listen to or you transition back into
yeah, I think
maybe a
so.
little
Or
bit closer to mainstream rock and roll, indie rock,
yeah,
anything.
yeah, I was gonna say it's anything and everything, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you go back
definitely.
to it and like I feel like I'm used to the beat that they play off of, and then you hear other things and you're like, okay.
I mean, I'm with you. The thing I've experienced lately is if I'm listening to especially the fall live, and then I transition back into listening to new music, um, or anything that I've heard before that I like, anything in general. I'm listening to this other music and I'm just thinking to myself that this is not dangerous at all. this is not this is not risky music at all. It's a hard transition, but after you get into it, then you're like, okay, all right, I made my transition phase. It's gone now. I'm back to enjoying it, of course. But at first, it's very harsh. It's kind of like the opposite of going into the fall initially, where it's super harsh. It's the opposite going out, where it's just like everything else is harsh in the opposite way, where it's soft. It's so soft. It's so un I don't know.
Yeah, like
It's not on the edge.
unimaginative, or not even unimaginative, but like
Risky. There's no
risky.
risk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and
There's
which
no
is
danger, man. Yeah.
funny to say because like certainly the music we're listening to is most of the time risky in its own sense. It's not
Yeah, it's
it's
artistic.
not the most popular genre in general, and yet you're like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
these unique,
Yeah, you're right.
these unique bands with a couple thousand maybe followers on Spotify or any of these sites are like,
Yeah, it's
they're,
generally artistic, a piece of artwork, right? That's made for the person that made it is making it for themselves, to impress themselves first and foremost, which is the key to success as far as making art, as far as I'm concerned. And then
yeah, especially
if
repetitive
audience,
art, right? Like
yeah,
you can't become a repeat artist if you're not going to be. I mean, you certainly can. You can become a commercialized artist, but like that's not really that much fun.
no, it's probably fun for a little while, but it's probably not that fun in the long run when you're trying to chase the dragon of success instead of
That
chasing your own dragon, which is equally probably just as frustrating but also rewarding when you catch it.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I think at a certain point where you get told no, right? Like, no, you can't put out that album. Like, we gotta make platinum again here. That's
Yes.
not gonna work for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, that's true.
Those
Yeah.
record, Mark's Enemy, the record label is just bossing you around.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why Mark didn't want to keep up with an album cycle at all. He wanted to fucking blow through it, explode an album cycle. He did not give one fuck about playing half of a or a full new album before it's even on any sort of tape.
Which is just like, yeah, the artist in him, right? Like
Yeah.
once you have a conceptualized piece of art, you kind of have to release it, right? Like it doesn't hold that well if you take something and hide it away for a period of time. It's
Hmm.
like when it's fresh, it's interesting and sharp, and
Yes.
people can enjoy it, right? Like versus, oh, I'm gonna keep these in my back pocket and you know.
And going back to the danger, right? The danger of playing something live on, let's say, John Peel show, that's going to be, it's going to be heard, not just like playing it at a venue like this album where there's going to be new tracks where you're just workshopping, but to play it on like a John Peel show where it's going to be heard by thousands, if not a million people,
Sure.
and just to do it and say, this is the form that it's in right now, and it might be the final form, but it also might be totally different the next time you hear it, is the coolest thing.
Yeah, with no product testing, right? Like, you don't know if people are going to be receptive of it or not, but
right, you're doing it for yourself. That's why he's trying to impress himself, and the band was trying to impress themselves, or trying to impress Mark and themselves. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody in there was stoked to be a musician, so they're all artists, right? Like,
yeah, they definitely are.
And I mean, they all wrote these songs. Like, obviously Mark was on the lyrics, but like, he did not have much input on what the instruments sounded like, besides like, okay, this is their, tempo and feel, right?
I think everyone that listens to this podcast by now probably understands that we give Mark a lot of credit, but we know the band definitely did not get as much credit as they deserve. Every single member, they're bringing him all the riffs and melodies for the most part, and he's given feedback, but it did seem like there was a band dynamic overall where critical the discussions were had. It wasn't a one-sided thing. There might be a dictatorship when it came to what gigs they're going to play, how much they're going to get paid, when they're going to play, all of the band running, the management side. That was definitely a dictatorship. But the actually making of the song, the creation of the songs, the development of the songs, I feel like we're really in the band's hands, probably because they just played so often that they had so much feedback with each other, where they could tell each other if they fucked up. They, sometimes it was true, sometimes it wasn't, but they could give each other that feedback, which probably made the songs change.
How did you feel about Winter in Memphis, Tennessee?
Yeah, I think that is a really cool slow burn track to end on, and I wish that would be the set list closer for them instead of No Christmas for John Keys, because I really like that. It's just it's brooding. It's brooding the whole way. If I heard that in a little small venue and that was the closing track at an hour of the fall playing, I would be super stoked to walk out of the venue just humming that in my head, walking down the street in the cold of winter, or even in the sweltering hot of summer in Chicago. I would just be humming that little winter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this was in June.
Yeah. So that would be a nice cool off.
In Memphis. You're sweating. That venue is hot. You want to think about the winter.
You got to assume that you walk out of a fall gig at this point in one of those venues, and it's probably, even in the middle of June, it's probably feeling much, much cooler than inside of a sweltering hot Memphis rock and roll club. So with that, the sound of
Mark finally relaxing for the day.
Yeah, relaxing after a long tour across America in 1981. What's going to wet your whistle as far as listening to this album?
I mean, I think we've made our preference in Chicago known. So yeah.
Yes.
I'm feeling, those are definitely the best recording sound wise. Both of the songs. I mean, obviously they released long ones. It's a good 20 minutes. I can go back to that again and again, and drive to work and listen to that, which you can't always do with the fall. So it is a unique.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Those two, I'm like, like this is. I'm not getting that worked up. I'm feeling good. Like,
You're not getting put on edge right when you're walking in.
It's not too sharp. I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm feeling okay listening to those two. So yeah, I really like those.
Yeah, I like the whole. I gotta say the Chicago tracks obviously are our favorites, recording wise, and because they're just they're just sprawling jams, and to lead off any album with 11 minutes, and then with an 11-minute song, even a live album, and then say, guys, now we're going to slow it down a bit. I'm going to give you an 8-minute song as the second track, and then the New York tracks on the side. I'm just going to say the whole north side, being the Chicagoans that we are, it kind of hurts to say it, but the whole north side is actually great.
I'm south side through and through, but I'll pick the north side of this
I'll
album.
pick the north side on this album as well. And so with that, I'm just gonna say listen to it. You guys go out there and listen to it. There's a lot of fall live albums as we all know, but listen to this one, or listen to this one again and all the way through, and actually just appreciate that all the different recording qualities across this actually make it so fun. It actually makes it so fun because actually if you listen to just a couple tracks, or if you listen to a whole album that is all recorded in the same place, same time, it kind of gets mundane because you get put in the space. And this one, you're jumping around across America, and you're jumping around across different soundboards in different sweaty, stanky ass clubs, and you're kind of getting a whole different dynamic each couple of songs, which is so fun. So I'm just gonna say fully endorsed. As a fall album. I want the Chicago Years. I want the Marquis Smith, the Chicago Years biography. I would love that. I would buy that in 1 second. Let me know if anyone's out there that wants to write that with me. And Steve, we can go to all the places.
We'll meet you there. If you know where he lived, we'll go over.
We'll go over there. We'll do one episode from his original location. Talk to the owners. We'll go up and knock on that door. Excuse me, do you guys have any idea that you are living in a former residence of Mr. Marquis Smith? They would say, what the fuck are you talking?
I was the 32nd member of the Fall. I know you still live here. I was in the Fall for 6 weeks in 1994.
Oh yeah, he left me this apartment. That's why I got the great rent rate still. Once again, we appreciate you all going on the journey with us, and join us on Patreon for our free membership and get some of the bonus episodes and the B-sides of the episodes, or join us as a ex-member of the Fall membership, where you get everything you could ever imagine as far as our bonus episodes and access to some fun stuff that we're doing. So until next time, we are the Fall.
We are the best. See you later, mate.
Later, mate.